So, now, previous video went to embrace-autism.com, and where they have the multiple autism tests. Dr. Engelbrecht has placed them up on the website so that you can see what it is that you can score if you think that you may be autistic or not. So, oh yeah, here it is. The RAADS-R revised. The RAADS-R. So, the website goes over who the test is for, versions, translations, taking the test, scoring, subscales, etc., whatever. So, the Ritvo Autism Asperger Diagnostic Scale revised, a self-report questionnaire designed to identify adult autistics who escape diagnosis due to subclinical level presentation. I'm approaching my mid-50s, and basically, before 1980, the diagnosis of autism was not in the DSM. At that point, it was, I think it was 1980 was when the DSM-3 was first released, and I think that was the first diagnostic statistician's manual that actually had the clinical diagnosis for autism. I think it was the it's either the revision of the third or possibly the fourth, which I mentioned Asperger syndrome. The DSM-5 eliminated Asperger's and basically folded it back in, put it back into autism, because there's basically some of the stuff that they've been finding is that it's not necessarily its own separate syndrome. It still falls under what is considered the Autism Spectrum Disorder, or as autistics call it, Autism Spectrum Condition. How can I put this? So, Autism Spectrum Condition, as you will see, if you go around looking at the some of the other videos here on YouTube, you will find that you'll be coming across a lot of the same people that, not the same people. You'll be coming across a lot of information that a lot of screw it. So anyway, Asperger syndrome also has been calling the previous clinical diagnostic criteria for Asperger syndrome. Dr. Hans Asperger has been kind of come under fire because it's found out while it is that a lot of the information about autism, as far as people who are actually speaking autists, may not necessarily appreciate. Yeah, screw it. So let's get on to this test here. So it takes about 10 to 30 minutes, basic information. Author Riva Ariella Ritvo. So it's 78 different questions. So Dr. Engelbrecht does not necessarily have some high ratings for the test itself. Some of the wording she feels not necessarily appropriate or respectful. Some of the questions for a lot of autistics lack clarity and have a lack of ambiguity. However, the accuracy for it does tend to be pretty accurate. So it's designed for adults or children who are over the age of 16, whether at the Autism Spectrum Disorder level 1 or subclinical autism. Go into the different levels of support needs for autism. So it's been translated into Swedish. So Dr. Engelbrecht goes through some of the stuff as far as like what goes into the test. So let's take the test. Here's Dr. Engelbrecht again. Okay. Please read each statement below and choose the answer that best fits your experiences during social interactions. I am a sympathetic person. I can be, although a lot of times I can often not be. Okay, this is what what I was talking about as far as like the lack of ambiguity, and also as far as clarity. clarity for where I can see here. So I am a sympathetic person. I can be, and there's also times I cannot be. Um, I often use words and phrases from movies and television in conversations. Very true. True now and when I was young. If I find a movie code actually fits in with a situation, I will use it. I'm often surprised when others tell me I have been rude. Very true. A lot of the things which I have tried to, basically statements that I've made to people, they find me to be, they consider it rude that I am being forward and direct. I mean, that's the way I talk. Okay, so sometimes I talk too loudly or too softly, and I am not aware of it. Very true. I have had that pointed out. I remember once a coworker was like, "Why are you yelling?" I was like, "I thought I was talking at a normal tone of voice," but apparently she thought I was loud, and nobody else was saying anything to the contrary. I often don't know how to act in social situations. Very true. I'd rather stay at home than having to deal with other humans. I could put myself in other people's shoes. Depends how well I know that person. So that's kind of but that also, I think, also comes down to some life experiences too. True only now. A hard time figuring out what some phrases mean, like "you are the apple of my eye." Yeah, what does that even mean? You are the apple of my eye. What the? Yeah, I mean, you tell me it's raining cats and dogs. I mean, I know what it means. It means it's raining like a lot. But when I first heard that, I was like, were there cats and dogs falling from the sky? I mean, frogs, like we have heard about, and sometimes fish. But yeah, cats and dogs, I don't get that. I only talk to people who share my special interests. That's not true. I can talk to people. I just don't necessarily like to. So I only like to talk to people who share my special interests. Yeah. Well, then again, I don't necessarily like talking to people. So, yeah, that's true. Focus on details rather than the overall idea. Very true. I get detail oriented. I can't necessarily see the big picture all the time unless I have like all the information available about said picture. And then I can look at it and it's like, oh, wow. I always notice how food feels in my mouth. This is more important than how it tastes. No, I do notice how the textures of food. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's more important than how it tastes. Um, I mean, there's a lot of times where food tastes good, but I wouldn't necessarily say that the texture is all that great. But if it tastes good, I will probably still eat it. So I always notice how food feels in my mouth is more important than how it tastes. I wouldn't say it's more important. I'd say they can be equally important, but more important? No. True now when I was young. True only now. True only when I was younger than 16. Never true. This I'm going to go with true only now, simply because of I tasted pretty much like a lot of stuff. It has to be a really offensive texture for me to be able to not eat it. So I miss my best friends or family when we are apart from a long time. Maybe when I was younger. I will. I mean, I enjoy the company of my friends and family, but I don't necessarily think about them if I'm separated from them. If that makes sense. I mean, I that doesn't mean I love them any less or I dislike them or anything like that. But yeah, the way my brain works, I don't necessarily get all that nostalgic. Sometimes I offend others by saying what I am thinking, even if I don't mean to. True. Very true. Um, Apparently, talking directly and truthfully is not something that we should be engaging in. I only like to think and talk about a few things that interest me. No. Maybe when I was younger, but yeah, nowadays, I mean, I can try to hold a conversation, but a lot of times I would lose interest into some of the stuff that goes on. Rather go out to eat in a restaurant by myself than with someone I know. True. That's not to say that I don't like company, but well, if I'm going to be with other people, that can be a little bit disconcerting at times. So I cannot imagine what it would be like to be someone else. True when I was younger, because now I have more experience as far as like living life and stuff like that. But it would also depend on how well I know that person too. I have been told that I am clumsy or uncoordinated. This is true. I never did well with team sports. I don't necessarily care for team sports, etc. Even nowadays, I'm really kind of surprised that I was able to make a second level black belt in my form of karate that I take. Excuse me. Part of the problem with that is that the some of the kata, which is the different moves or a series of different moves that you make while you're training. I'm kind of surprised that I was able to get past some of the tests on there. Others consider me odd or different. Very true. Now and when I was young. A lot of people don't know what to do with me. I understand when friends need to be comforted. If they're friends and I know them, then yeah, then I will know when they need to be comforted. If it's people I don't know, then I don't necessarily know that. I'm very sensitive to the way my clothes feel when I touch them. How they feel is more important to me than how they look. This is very true. My standard uniform, I guess you could call it, has been t-shirt and jeans and comfortable sneakers, running shoes. I've actually started looking for sensory-friendly materials. The older that I get, the more I realize how much a lot of my clothing that I have now, even stuff is like when it's pure cotton, I find can be abrasive. Tags typically need to be cut out or from my clothing that I wear. Seams can also be, I've noticed, has been a little bit of a problem as well. I like to copy the way certain people speak and act. It helps me appear more normal. Yeah. Back when I was, true now and when I was young. That also comes down to autistic masking, and that's kind of more of a survival type of thing. It can be very intimidating for me to talk to more than one person at the same time. True. That depends also. So, I mean, one of the things which has definitely helped me has been playing in bands and being up on stage, so I don't have a problem addressing groups of people. If I'm basically going and talking, doing interacting with people one-on-one, like at the beginning of work when people have questions, then I'll be happy to help them out when I can. But as far as interacting with large groups of people, that one gets kind of stress-inducing, I guess you could say. I have to act normal to please other people and make them like me. No. Maybe when I was younger that might have applied, but yeah, I don't really see any point now. I mean, I'm 53 years old. You're going to deal with me however it is you're going to deal with me. Meeting new people is usually easy for me. Um, Probably when I was younger and didn't really know all that much about myself. I think it was probably more the social convention that we happened to meet people. But yeah, I really don't care about get it. So I get highly confused when someone interrupts me when I am talking about something I am very interested in. No, when I was younger, maybe that might apply, but I don't necessarily think that applies nowadays. Difficult for me to understand how other people are feeling when we are talking. Uh, it can be, unless I know the person that I'm talking to. Like having a conversation with several people, for instance, around a dinner table at school or at work. No, we've already discussed this. Take things too literally, so I often miss what people are trying to say. True. I mean, I talk to people in a kind of literal manner. I'm very straightforward and direct, and I really wish people would be as well. It's very difficult for me to understand when someone is embarrassed or jealous. Yeah, that I will definitely agree with. I mean, just because I have something doesn't mean that you can't attain the same thing. Um, I mean, I could probably help you attain that thing if I've already done it myself, but I don't understand why you're getting mad at me because I was able to attain something and you weren't. I mean, did you try? Some ordinary textures that do not bother others feel very offensive when they touch my skin. True. I already discussed the clothing stuff. There's also certain textures that I cannot touch, or other situations, which I can't remember if this test, I don't know if this test has that question or not, but yeah, there are some textures that bother me. Get extremely upset when the way I like to do things is suddenly changed. True. I do like my routines. I've never wanted or needed to have what other people call an intimate relationship. No, that's not been true. I do like having my intimate relationships with people. So. It's difficult for me to start and stop a conversation. I need to keep going until I am finished. Yeah, that's true. I mean, once you get me started, then I prefer to keep going on until I run out of knowledge or whatever. But yeah, that's yeah. Starting and stopping a conversation can be a problem. They speak with a normal rhythm. Oh, helicopter. Speak with a normal rhythm. I don't know. What's a normal rhythm? I mean, it's one of those other questions. I'm like, define normal. I mean, if I do now, but if I can, I was like, so yeah, this is just confusing. So yeah, define a normal rhythm. Same sound, color, or texture can suddenly change from very sensitive to very dull. No. I'm going to disagree with that. So if I'm sensitive to something, then I'm going to probably be sensitive for it for a very, very long time. Phrase, I've got you under my skin, makes me uncomfortable. I think this goes with the whole apple in my eye. What is that? I've got you under my skin. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm fucking you or something? That's one of those things I'm just like, what does that even mean? Obviously it makes me uncomfortable, so I'm going to go with true now when I was young. Sometimes the sound of a word or high-pitched noise can be painful to my ears. Words? No. Noises? Definitely. So that is true now and when I was young. I don't get offended by words. I mean, like there's a couple of people at work, it's like you mentioned the word moist. They get offended by it. I mean, there's a couple of words that people use. I can think of 3 off the top of my head that I'm not going to be going into here, but could still provoke a reaction. So the sound of a word, I never really got offended by that. Certain noises, like children screaming, like out of the blue, that can be distressing to me. Other noises, like a room full of people talking all at once, that can also be painful to my ears too. I'm an understanding type of person. Now this I can do. But that being said, I also don't necessarily like spending too much time with a lot of people. I do not connect with characters in movies and cannot feel what they feel. True now, I didn't necessarily understand the interactions and the characters when I was younger. I cannot tell when someone is flirting with me. True, very true. Ask my wife. She was basically the one who asked me out because I'm basically just completely fucking clueless on that stuff. I can see in my mind in exact detail things that I am interested in. True now. It took me a while to get used to visualizing things in my head. I keep lists of things that interest me even when they have no practical use. For example, sports statistics, train schedules, calendar dates, historical facts, and dates. True now, and when I was young. My brain is loaded with all kinds of useless trivia. When I feel overwhelmed by my senses, I have to isolate myself to shut them down. True only now, because I'm starting to get used to how it is that I handle things. When I was younger, I just kept trying to push myself through it, and that probably led to a lot of burnout when I was... Let's see. I like to talk things over with my friends. True. Sometimes they can give me a perspective that I might not necessarily be able to see myself. Cannot tell if someone is interested or bored with what I am saying. True. At all times. I mean, well, nowadays, like especially if I don't know the person, then yeah, I will basically keep going until they're going to cut me off. Be very hard to read someone's face, hand, and body movements when they are talking. True. Very true. At all times. I don't necessarily do well with reading people's emotions. Same thing, like clothes or temperature can feel very different to me at different times. This is definitely true. But only so much now. Now... No, I will go with the true now and when I was young. Shirts I used to be comfortable are now no longer comfortable and stuff like that. So I feel very comfortable with dating or being in social situations with others. No. No. Good Lord, no. Let's see. I try to be as helpful as I can when other people tell me their personal problems. Yeah, I do like to help people, so that one's still very much true. I do like to try to solve problems for people, but found out that they don't necessarily want that. Been told that I have an unusual voice, for example, flat, monotone, childish, or high-pitched. True. I think the only reason why my voice is this low and gravelly right now is because I'm in my 50s. And plus, I've also learned to drop it down a little bit, too. Sometimes a thought or a subject gets stuck in my mind, and I have to talk about it even if no one is interested. Yeah. No, if that includes talking to myself, then yeah, definitely. Do certain things with my hands over and over again, like flapping, twirling sticks or strings, waving things by my eyes. True. I engage in a lot of stimming. That's pretty much all day, every day. Never been interested in what most of the people I know consider interesting. Very true. Once I latch onto something, I will continue liking it, even if it's no longer in the mainstream. I'm considered a compassionate type of person. That I will definitely agree with. People may not necessarily understand that the way that I feel about something, though, is not necessarily reflected in the way that I act. Get along with other people by following a set of specific rules that help me look normal. I've not really been known to mask too well, so... Yeah, I'm not necessarily so busy trying to fit in anymore, so... Yeah, I don't really care, so... Yeah, true only when I was younger, 16. It's very difficult for me to work and function in groups. Well, I'm in a job which is considered team-oriented, so I can work and function in with a group, but that didn't necessarily apply when I was younger. Um, but if given the chance to work by myself, I will do that. So yeah, it can be difficult, but I can get over it. When I'm talking to someone, it's hard to change the subject. The other person does so, I can get very upset and confused. Uh, Now, maybe if I was younger, That would be true. But it depends on what it is. If it's something important, I can get upset and confused as to why it is that they're interrupting me. So, it's true. Sometimes I have to cover my ears to block out painful noises, vacuum cleaners, people talking too loudly, talking too much or too loudly. Very true. This is why I carry earplugs with me. They're attached to my keychain at all times. I can chat and make small talk with people. Uh, ugh. I can, but I don't like to. Other things I'd rather be doing. Sometimes things that should be painful are not. For instance, when I hurt myself or burn my hand on the stove. Depends what it is. Hello, littles. Hello, Lizzie. That's my cat, Lizzie, if you heard her. She's stopping by to say hello. Pain sensitivity. No, I can have a very low tolerance for some pains. When talking to someone, I have a hard time telling when it is my turn to talk or to listen. I can have a hard time sometimes, but not always. I'm considered a loner by those who know me best. True. I usually speak in a normal tone. If I don't know if I necessarily have a flat affect in the way that I talk. But then again, that might just be decades of conditioning of having to deal with other people. So, not true only now. I like things to be exactly the same day after day, and even small changes in my routines upset me. When I was younger, definitely. Nowadays, I've learned to kind of learn some coping mechanisms to help me adapt. So that's true when I was younger than 16. How to make friends and socialize is a mystery to me. Yeah, true. Like I said, I don't like making small talk. I mean, I could make friends, but I'd have to find them interesting, I guess. Calms me to spin around or to rock in a chair when I'm feeling stressed. Very true. I'm actually rocking back and forth right now, side to side. Phrase, he wears his heart on his sleeve, does not make sense to me. True. Are we pulling our hearts out of our chest and putting it on our clothes? No. I know that's not what it means, but some of the euphemisms that we use in the day-to-day conversation, I was just like, what the hell does that even mean? So it still has to be explained to me. If I'm in a place where there are many smells, textures to feel, noises, or bright lights, I feel anxious or frightened. Yeah, definitely nah. As far as like smells, I'm a little bit hyposensitive. I don't necessarily smell anything unless it's necessarily obvious or overpowering. Textures, I usually try to keep my hands to myself, but depends on what the texture is. Noises, definitely. Bright lights can be, especially like some of the visual phenomenon that I see. Tell when someone says one thing but means something else. Never true. I don't do hints. Just get to the point. I like to be by myself as much as I can. True now, and when I was young. Keep my thoughts stacked in my memory like they are on filing cards, and I pick out the ones I need by looking through the stack and finding the right one or another unique way. True. Don't ask me to go off script. You're asking for trouble. Singing sounds sometimes seems very loud or very soft, even though I know it has not changed. This is true. I mean, well, I don't necessarily know about when I was young, but noticed, well, I'm going to go with true only now because I have noticed things can change up quite a bit. I enjoy spending time. Well, let's go back on that. So the way that my brain works is like sometimes I can hear something that's not obtrusive or intrusive, whichever way that works. But then there's also times that same sound can be really, really loud. So, like for instance, the refrigerator in the office at work, that I can notice. Other times I just basically just tune it out if I'm wrapped up with something. Enjoy spending time eating and talking with my family and friends. What's up, littles? Miss Lizzie wants attention, so I will play with you soon, okay? Or are you hungry? Get that in a few minutes, okay? Okay, going back. I enjoy spending time eating and talking with my family and friends. Yeah, but then again, I know them, so. I can't tolerate things I dislike, like smells, textures, sounds, or colors. True now, and when I was young. I don't like to be hugged or held. Never true. But it also can depends on who it is. Sweet girl, give me a couple of minutes, okay? When I go somewhere, I have to follow a familiar route, or I can get very confused and upset. Not necessarily. I do use a navigation system, so it basically does try to find the shortest route available. So, maybe when I was younger, but I've learned to adapt on that situation. It is difficult to figure out what other people expect of me. If you're dropping hints, yes. Is this your phone, little girl? Mm-hmm. Is this yours? So it can be difficult if they're not telling me what it is. So true now, when I was young. I like to have close friends. True now. Acquaintances, whatever. People tell me that I give too much detail. Yeah, I can go on about things. I am often told that I ask embarrassing questions. I don't get told that. Of course, with my size, I think people may be intimidated. I'm going to go with true. Tend to point out other people's mistakes. Definitely. And that's also caused me trouble, including at work, which unfortunately does happen. So what's my score? 175. So language subtotal 19, social relatedness subtotal 80, sensory motor subtotal 43, circumscribed interest subtotal 33. What do my scores mean? Okay, so my total score is 175. So scores of 65 or higher indicative of autistic traits. Higher score, the more autistic traits you have. In the table below are general interpretations, various total scores on the RAADS-R. 25, you're not autistic. 50, some autistic traits, but likely not autistic, yet some autistic people score as low as 44. 65 is a minimum score at which autism is considered. 90 is stronger indications of autism, although non-autistics may score as high. 130, mean score of autistic people, strong evidence for autism. 160, very strong evidence for autism. 227 is the maximum score autistic people acquired in Ritvo's seminal paper on the RAADS-R. 240, the maximum possible RAADS-R score. So my score of, 175. Yeah, so I'm above very strong evidence for autism. Okay. And there's also more stuff that goes in here as far as like how you score and whatnot. So again, also recommends additional tests, but no one written test is going to definitively state that you are autistic. There's a number of other tests that they have that psychologists and psychiatrists need to use to score what it is that you to determine whether you're autistic or not. So we can go from there. So I think the next video I do will be the AQ10, which is the shortened version of the Autism Spectrum Quotient. So hope you enjoyed this video. And if you didn't enjoy it, that's fine too. You probably already bailed out of it if you didn't. So hopefully you enjoy your... But like I said, hopefully you did enjoy this. And if you find this information useful, if you want to learn more about... Stop that! if you want to learn more about autism, you can go to embraceautism.com, and there's plenty of articles and whatnot that are available. So hope you enjoyed it. So hopefully you watch some of the other videos.